بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome dear students. This is Miss Layla Al-Jihani. Inshallah today we will continue our unit 5, making choices. Today we will cover inshallah the last lesson for this unit, lesson 12 for meaning and function. Before we start, let's recall what we covered in our previous lesson. In our previous lesson we covered the writing. We covered two things. We had the text, we had to highlight the gerunds, and we had to write about choices you have made and their consequences. Okay, this is what we covered in our previous lesson. I gave you homework to write the choices. I gave you a sample. Please share your homework with your classmates. Now, inshallah, today in our lesson, by the end of the lesson, you will be able to use, so here it's like a revision of the grammar, but it's a different one. The grammar, we use conditional sentences the same, but in facts. Today we will cover imaginary situations in full statement. Also, we will use the word wish in meaningful sentences. Okay? Before we start the lesson, let's see the homework which I gave you, page 122. Okay, you had a text. I'm sure you read it. I'm not gonna read it. I'm sure you read it. If you haven't done it, read it and answer the questions related to it. So we have two paragraphs, two situations. What does he want you to do? He wants you to choose one of the situations, list some ideas for and against your choice. Okay, so you have two situations. You have to choose one and tell us why did you choose the situations. You have to write points with and against. Okay, let's see the sample. I'd like to support people who help the environment. I will tell them that I have to write an article. If I see that there is pollution, I will write about that. If I don't see pollution, I will write about that. A reporter's job is to be honest and report what is happening, okay? Being biased, okay? Now, moving on to writing the article, writing the paragraph, sorry. Write a paragraph about your choice, okay? So you will use the one from the previous exercise, the information from the first exercise. We will use it to write this paragraph. Write what you will do and explain your choice. A difficult decision. Okay, let's see the sample here. I'm against factories that polluted the environment. But there is a question about this factory. Is it polluting the river with chemicals? I'm not 100% sure. I'd rather be 100% sure about before I write an article about it. So if I'm not sure about the pollution, I won't include it in the article. And if I'm 100% sure that the factories is polluting the environment, I will write about that in the article. Okay? So this is the sample of the writing. I'm sure you did it. Share your choice with your classmates. Now, for our lesson today, page 57. Okay, we can see a picture of money. Who doesn't love money? We all love it, صح? So, what would you do if you had 1 billion Saudi riyal? Imagine that you have 1 billion riyal. What would you do? What would you do with it? You would buy a house. You would travel the world. Okay, I'm hearing a lot. You're getting excited. So imagine, think that you have that much money. What would you do with it? Okay, I have these examples. If Sarah had 1 billion Saudi riyals, she would buy a new house for her parents. Here we have a full stop, sorry. Okay, the second sentence, if Saeed had 1 billion Saudi riyals, he'd take a trip around the world. Okay, he'd take a trip around the world. This is the second statement. The third one, if Salman had 1 billion Saudi riyals, he would buy a new car. Okay, are these real statements, or we are imagining we have the money? This is an imagination. Okay, and here we use if. We call it if conditionals. Is it the same as our grammar of that unit? It's not the same. In the grammar of the unit, we use it for facts, for real situations. Here, we are imagining, okay, in this lesson. Let's exercise, okay, let's exercise. Before we do it, I want you to focus on the verb. I want you to focus on the verbs here. We have if, had. The verb had here, which tense is it? It's in the past, صح? And here we have would, this is the short form of would, and here we have the base form of the verb. We don't add s, ed, nothing. This is how we form the if conditional when it is imaginary and real situations. We have the if clause, we have it in the verb is in the past, like had, okay? And the second part of it, which is the result, we have would and the base form of the verb, okay? Now let's try to exercise and write down these sentences. We have here the if clause, صح? So the verb here, which tense is it? This is imaginary situation. Which tense is it? In the past. So we write knew. If they knew the answer, they, how can we form the second part? We add what? Excellent. We add would. Then we put the verb as it is. Would tell. Let's do the second sentence. If I, we have the verb be. The past form of that verb we have if I were you. I would study harder. The last sentence here, if he, the past form of have is had time to relax, he would be happier. Okay, this is how we form it. Okay, now when do we use the conditionals? When do we use it? We use the unreal conditionals in English to talk about situations which is unreal, imaginary, okay? Not real, but that we imagine the situation, okay? This is when we form the unreal conditionals. Here I have some examples. If I had $1 million, I would. If I live in Italy, I would. If I got a job as a chef, I would. Are these situations real? No, they're not real. Are you a chef? لا. Do you live in Italy? No. Okay, so these are imaginary, not real situations. Okay. Do I really have $1 million? I don't. Okay. Do I really live in Italy? I'm not. So these situations are imaginary situations. We are imagining these situations. Okay. Now conditional, if you look at your book, we have page 57. Conditional sentences in the imaginary situations. What do we have? You can use the conditional sentences to talk about imaginary or hypothetical situations in the present. Okay? This statement, we can find it in your book. Please focus. It's just a summary of what we covered in the previous slides. We use the simple past in the F clause, as we practiced, and would in the main clause. Okay? Would, after it, we have the base form of the verb. Okay? If, simple past, comma, would plus the verb. No S, no ED, nothing. Okay? Only the verb. Now, I have these two examples. If they built a new highway, the farmers would protest. Okay? If I was or were rich, I wouldn't have to work. Okay? The construction of would is I'd. Okay? Like I'd, you'd, he'd. Okay? So it's the short form of would. The short form of it is comma D. Like here. I'd, you'd. So the D, comma D, it's the short form of would. She'd, we'd, they'd. Okay? They'd be happy if they had time to take a vacation. Sometimes we put the F clause in the second part of the sentence. We have the main here, and we put the conditional, the F clause in the second part. We don't put a comma or anything here. We just write it down. So we will start if they would or I'd be, the base form, happier if they had past simple, and continue the sentence without a comma or anything. Okay? Now let's look at this exercise. Let's read the first exercise. Match the sentence parts. We have here, this is the first part of the sentence, and here we have the second part of the sentence. He wants you to match it. Okay? He wants you to match the sentences. Read it. Try to match it. Please pause the video. Think about it. When you finish writing down the letters, like for example, number 1, what do you think the answer will? Choose a letter and put it there. Compare your answer with a friend. Discuss if your answers are different. Why is it different? What do you think the right answer is? Now let's see it together. If my family had to move to another city, what would happen? There'd be less traffic. Do you think traffic will be affected? La, the answer will be D. I'd miss my friends. This is the answer for number 1. If everyone cared for the environment, what would happen? He'd be in a good shape. Do you think this is reasonable? La, the answer will be F. There'd be less pollution. Okay? 3. If he had more work experience, the answer will be E. He'd apply for the job. This is the result part. Number 4. If people took the bus more often, what would happen? A. There be less traffic. 5. If he worked out at the gym every day, he'd be in a good shape. This is the answer, B. The last one, 6. If I could travel anywhere in the world, I visit New Zealand. Okay, this is the answer. Okay, now moving on to exercise B. Discuss the following situations with a partner. You have different situations. Discuss it with your friends. So this is a speaking exercise, not a writing exercise. What would you do? The question is, what would you do if you are in that situation? Okay, so this is imaginary. You have to use if conditional in the imaginary situation. Okay, you have more free time to do something you really enjoy. If you have more time, what would you do? Okay, the answer will be, you can say, if I had more free time, I would go swimming. This is an example. The second statement, the second situation, what would you do if you were giving a scholarship to study at the college of your choice? If someone gave you a scholarship, they say, خلاص, you can study whenever or wherever you want. Where would you study? Which place would you study? So you can say, if I were given a scholarship, I would choose Harvard University. Okay? 3, you lent a good friend some money, but he or she didn't return it. If I lent, we use the past, my friend some money, I would forgive him or her. This is imaginary. They want to know what would you do, okay? Now we have two more here. You are, what would you do if you are a conservationist and your job is to protect the environment? Okay, what would you do? You can say, if I were a conservationist, I would save the endangered animals. Endangered animal, the animals that are endangered, that can be affected by the pollution. I will protect them, give them a safe place to be in. 5, your classmate asked you to help him or her cheat on an important test. If that happened to you, what would you do? If my classmate asked me to help him or her cheat, I would tell his or her parents. I will report it to his parents or the teacher. Anything, I would help. It's an imaginary, any answer can be correct. Okay? Now moving on to the second part of our grammar, which is I wish. Okay? If I tell you, I wish I had studied harder at school. I wish I had studied harder at school. What do you understand from this sentence? What is the meaning of this sentence? Did the action happen already? Yeah, it's already happened. And I'm wishing that the present is different, صح? I wish that the present is different. So, the meaning, I didn't study hard at school. Does it mean I studied hard? I didn't, okay? Now, I am sorry about that. I wish I can change it. This is the meaning of this sentence. Let's see the second one. I wish Amal had come with me on the trip. Okay? I wish Amal had come with me on that trip. What does it mean? Does it mean that Amal is with me on the trip? لا, she's not. I went to the trip. Now I regret that Amal didn't come with me. She didn't come and I regret it. I feel sorry about that. I wish she came. صح? The last here example we have, I wish you hadn't told me how the movie ends. Okay? What does this statement mean? It means that you already told me. You told me how the movie ends. You did tell me. I would be happier if you hadn't. Okay? I would be happier when I watch the movie if you didn't tell me how it ends. Okay? So when do we use wish? When do we use it? The verb wish. When do we use it? We use it when you want reality different. When you want the situation now different. Okay? If you look at your book, page 57, we have the verb wish. We use wish with the simple past for things you want to happen in the present, but probably won't. You can't change it. صح? So this is how we use it. We have these examples. They don't have much time. Here we didn't use wish. These examples, we will see how do we form it with the verb wish. Okay? I have to study today. Faisal isn't rich. Please pay attention to the verb. Here it's negative. Here it's positive. Here it's negative we have. And here it's negative. Pay attention when we have a negative. How do we form it with the verb wish? So for the first one, they don't have much time. They wish they had more time. So we remove the negative here. When it's wish, we use it with the positive. Okay? Here we have a positive statement. We use it here with the negative. So when you change a statement from a normal statement to wish, you change the positive into negative and the negative into positive, okay? Here we have a negative, we change it to positive. Here we have a negative, we change these into positive statements, okay? I have to study today. I wish I didn't have to study today. Faisal isn't rich. Faisal wishes he was or were rich. I can't speak French. I wish I could speak French, okay? And we have a note at the bottom. The form of the verb be, the verb to be, is often were. If I were you. Mostly in for all subjects in imaginary situations and wishes. When we use the if conditional in an imaginary situation and with the verb wish, when we want something imaginary, we use were. If I were a doctor, I'm not a doctor, I'm a teacher. If I am imagining, صح? So most of these situations we use were. I didn't say I was, okay? Now for the exercise C, here you have to write 2 sentences, okay, using the verb wish. 4 things that each person wants. So we have different situations. For every one you have to write 2 sentences. Please pause the video, read it, answer the questions, and now let's see it together. Number 1, Trevor has to wake up early for work. He can never get enough sleep. So here, Trevor wishes he didn't have to wake up early. He wishes he could get more sleep. يا مس ليش زودنا ES here? Why did we say wishes? Because, do you know how do we form the simple present? Do you remember? With I will write it down here. Sorry. With he, she, and it, we have the verb plus S. With the other ones, we don't add anything. We just write the verb. Like here. You don't feel well, so you can't hang out with your friends today. Let's see the example. I wish, so we have I, we didn't add an S. I wish I felt better, or I wish I could hang out with my friends today. We have a full stop here. Pay attention, after the verb wish, the verb after it, it's in the simple past. Number 3, there is so much pollution. We want more people to care for the environment. The examples: we wish there wasn't so much pollution. We wish more people cared for the environment. Number 4, you want to buy a new laptop. So the answers, I will go through the answers only. I wish I had a new laptop. I wish I had enough money to buy one. Now the last one, 5, the answers: Ali wishes he could go surfing, and he wishes he knew how to surf. Okay, this is it for exercise C. So what did we cover in our lesson today? We use the conditional sentences in imaginary, unreal, hypothetical situations in sentences. We use the verb wish in meaningful sentences. This is what we covered. Now moving on to page 82. Please open your books, page 82. We have the first verb for today: know, knew, and known. These are the examples for the present. Saeed knows a lot about computers. Saeed knew a lot about computers, and Saeed has known a lot about computers. The second verb, we have leave, left, left. The flight leaves late. The flight left late. The flight has left late. The last verb for today, we have lend, lent, and lent. Will you lend me some money? He lent him some money. He has lent him some money. Hopefully this makes everything easier for all of you. Inshallah, I will see you next class. We will begin our new unit then. See you then.